So are you a hunter, and do you find yourself out in the middle of nowhere with the wish that you could actually get from point A to point B really quickly, but you're not allowed to bring an ATV in the area that you're going to be doing your hunting? I might have the bike just for you. Now this is the Yoto Lion, and it's an absolute beast of a cargo bike. In fact, this thing has a mullet setup, which makes it even more unique. Let's go over the specs and details on this bike and go over some of the reasons why I think this bike might be really good if you're a hunter. So the Yoto Lion is super unique. It's a mullet setup with a 20-inch wheel in the back and a 26-inch wheel up front. This is going to do two different things for you. With the 4-inch wide tires, you can go through some of the roughest terrain out there, roll over rocks, roots, sticks, all that stuff with no problem. Having that 26-inch tire up front is really going to help with that also. But having a 20-inch wheel in the back is going to lower the weight of this bike, which it already weighs a lot, being that it's one of the longest bikes I've ever reviewed. But also, it's going to lower this rear rack quite a bit. Where if you had a 26-inch wheel on there, the rack would be so much higher, your center of gravity would be kind of off even more than it already is with a bike of this size. So I think having this mullet setup is a really cool design. However, take note, you will have to carry 2 tubes with you if you go out in the wild and you don't want to have to deal with patching a tube. You're going to need a 26-inch tube and a 20-inch tube, and those are going to weigh anywhere from a pound to about 1.5 pounds, all depending on which type of tube you pick up. All right, we're out here in my backyard trail, and I'm going to take this for a little spin just to give you an idea of what this thing's capable of off-road. Because I do think that this is an ideal bike for somebody who's going to be out in this type of conditions, doing hunting, things like that. And you will hear that rear foot rack back there just kind of bouncing around. If you didn't have that on, so far I think this bike would be relatively quiet. But with these big fat tires, both front and back, 4 inches wide, this is going to be ideal for conditions where you're trying to stomp through the woods, tote all of your gear out here to the middle of nowhere or to your stand, and then be able to get back without having to actually put all that effort into dragging all of your equipment around. And having that big bike rack on the back will really give you the ability to tote a lot of stuff. Now, whenever you first look at this bike, you might think that this is going to be a mid-drive motor because of this compartment right here, but that is just a storage area for the controller and most of the wiring. And back here is where you're going to have a rear hub motor. Now, this bike comes with 2 different options. You can get a 500 watt or a 750 watt motor. My suggestion with a bike of this size, if you live anywhere where there's going to be hills, or if you're going to be riding this off into the woods, I would highly recommend spending a little bit more money and getting the 750 watt version. A bike of this size and weight with only a 500 watt motor just wouldn't be ideal for those type of scenarios. Now, if you live in an area that's flat, something like Florida, and you're just going to be going back and forth between the grocery store or the soccer field, then yeah, a 500 watt motor would probably do the trick. But you also have to consider the cargo that you're going to be carrying on this. And if you're going to be carrying a passenger on here, which this bike is completely capable of, that's also another consideration. For me personally, I would just spend the few extra $100 and get the bigger motor. Okay, we're out here at my favorite hill to test all of my e-bikes on. You guys have seen this before if you've watched my reviews. This hill goes all the way up to 19%. It always pushes these e-bikes to their limit. So let's go ahead, let's get this thing going. What I do is I start out with a little bit of throttle just to get up to speed, and then I do pedal assist 5 all the way up it just to see how well these motors actually handle it. Let's go ahead and let's get going. All right, all clear. Let's go ahead and get up to speed with the throttle. And let's start pedaling. And I do have to say, the pedal assist kicks in really fast on this bike, which is nice because some bikes have a delay. This one doesn't. Okay, right here, it's about, I would say, about 12% right here, 12% grade. You can hear the motor pushing just a little bit. I do have it in gear 7, so we do have quite a bit to shift down just in case we need to. Again, we have this on pedal assist 5. We are coming up on about 15%. When we get up to this driveway up here, that's where the 19% grade happens. We're going about 18, 17 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and shift down one. The Shimano shifting seems to work really well. We're down to 12 miles an hour. This is a beast of a bike as far as the size and the weight. So pushing up this hill is quite a challenge, and we've maintained over 10 miles an hour. And I would say most of my bikes are between 10 and 12 miles an hour that I've tested. So this one's doing really well considering its overall weight. Yeah, this is why I would recommend the 750 watt motor. It conquered that hill really well. I just can't see the 500 watt motor being able to do that good on that hill. Now, as I was saying, you can carry a passenger on this bike, which is really cool. They do offer a safety bar system, and as of right now on their website, whenever you purchase this bike, they're actually including that for free. You can carry up to 2 small children with that safety bar on there. But I do think Yoto needs to redesign the way that these platforms are attached, because having this while you go down the road is really annoying. Now, the drivetrain on this bike is pretty basic when it comes to these budget bikes. You see it all the time. It's a 7-speed shifter made by Shimano. You've got a 7-speed turny rear derailleur in the back that will help you shift through all those gears. And this system is really easily replaceable when it comes to if you have any issues with it. Just about every bike shop in America can get a hold of or may have some Shimano turny products in their inventory. Now, being that this is a cargo bike and it's super long, you're gonna want a chain tensioner. And it was nice to see that Yoto actually installed a chain tensioner on here. So this chain is not gonna be bouncing around whenever you hit some of those rough areas. They did install a chain guard on here, which is really nice. If you're gonna be having passengers, you don't have to worry about them getting their feet into the chain. And also, if you're gonna be wearing any type of clothing that you don't want any oil or grease getting on you from the chain itself. All right, we're at a full stop. Let's go ahead and check pedal assist 1, see what it takes us up to. Feel it kick in there. And looks like it's about 6 to 7 miles an hour for pedal assist 1. Pedal assist 2, can feel it kicking in. And that rear footrest is really rattling. That's gotta be fixed for sure. But pedal assist 2 looks like it takes you up to about 11 to 12 miles an hour. Let's go to 3. About 17, 18 miles an hour. Pedal assist 4. Woo, starting to max out, starting to ghost pedal. We're at 23 miles an hour, and pedal assist 5, which would be the max, should get us up to 28, but we'll see. It's a nice flat ground to do this on. Yeah, 28.7, around 29. So yeah, this bike is hitting the speed on the display that they claim that it will. So feels really fast, feels pretty stable too. These fat tires really make bikes feel super stable. Now when it comes to the cockpit up here, this is gonna be pretty similar to a lot of other e-bikes that I've reviewed. You're gonna get a nice large display that's gonna pretty much display everything that you would need to know. You're gonna get a control pad over here to change between your pedal assist levels or go through a menu. And then also you're gonna get turn signals and an electronic horn. This does come with some ergonomic grips that are relatively comfortable, and it does have a twist throttle instead of a thumb throttle. Now this does have these Samir hydraulic brakes. I've used those brakes once before on the other Yoto bike that I reviewed, and they seem to work relatively well. As far as longevity goes with these hydraulic brakes, I'm not really sure, but it is nice to see that they use standard mineral oil, so you should be able to do maintenance on them like you would with a standard Shimano brake setup. We'll give these brakes a test up here, see how good they brake. They did a pretty good job. These brakes may need to be bedded in a little bit more. We'll go ahead and give it a couple more stops, and then we'll do an official test. Oh yeah, that's getting a lot better already. And the brake test is now. That's a lot of weight to stop. It did decent, but it wasn't the best braking that I've seen on a bike, but it did relatively well. Now this particular bike has 2 batteries. You can buy this in a single battery or a dual battery setup, no matter which motor you go with. But this one does have the dual battery. The extra battery goes back here. This is a 10 amp hour battery back here and a 20 amp hour battery up front, giving you a total of 30 amp hours. Now you can run this bike without this one turned on, so if you just wanted to use this one in reserve, you could just simply hit the off switch right here, and whenever this one drains out, you could turn this one on, or you can run them both at the exact same time and they will drain in parallel. Having 30 amp hours at a $1,700 price range with a 750 watt motor seems like a really good deal. Now, when this bike arrived to me, it came in 2 different boxes. The batteries were shipped separately. I'm not sure why Yoto does that. There's probably some sort of shipping logistics with the lithium batteries being in the box with the bike versus not. Just know that if you do purchase a bike from Yoto, that you may get your batteries shipped separately. Now, as far as assembly goes with this bike, it was relatively easy. Nothing surprising here. You have to install the fenders, you have to orientate the fork and the stem in the correct direction, and install the handlebars. Nothing surprising here, doesn't take very long. Even if you don't have experience with doing this, expect the build up and install to take anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour, all depending on your skill set. So now that we know a little bit more about this bike, let's go ahead and take it for a ride in my backyard trail. And even though that this is a really long bike, this bike really does maneuver really well. And I think a lot of it is because it's got that smaller tire on the back. You're not having to swing near as much around. And this big tire really does stomp over anything that gets in its way. And I've only got this in pedal assist 2. And it does really, really well. I don't see any need to go any faster on this bike out here just because there's a lot of weight going. Here's a good stick. It just stomps right over it, no problem. Didn't even feel it. Let's go over this stick right here. This is a little fallen down tree. See if it can do it. Oh yeah, went right over it. And that's why I really think that this type of bike is what hunters would be looking for. I'm not sure on the color if this would be a good color for a hunter or not, but you can always get it wrapped if you wanted to change the color on it. But having the storage space and just the capabilities of a fat bike are really nice. And if you're not into hunting, being able to tote around your kids or be able to go to the grocery store and have a big enough basket and rack on this to be able to handle all of it really is pretty nice. Let's see how it handles these rocks over here. Oh yeah, no problem. Just the rattle from that foot plate back there, which could potentially be easily fixed. Yeah, this bike's doing really, really well. But I'm really impressed with the ability of this bike to maneuver through the woods here. Now, I do like how the pedal assist levels do have speed limits on them. Sometimes you get bikes that have pedal assist levels that just go max out the entire time, no matter which one you're in. I'm not a big fan of that. I like my pedal assist levels to actually be limited up to a certain speed. That way, whenever I know I'm in 1, I'm not gonna go over, say, 8 miles an hour. When I know I'm in pedal assist 5, I'm gonna be able to hit that maximum speed. I don't want pedal assist 1 to hit that maximum speed. So really, really nice that they limited the speed on these pedal assist levels. Okay, this next test is one of my favorite tests. It's the stability speed test. We get up to speed here and then we stop pedaling and we coast down this hill to see how quick we can get and how stable this bike is. I have a feeling it's gonna be very stable. Woo! Already at 41 miles an hour. I saw 42 on there. This bike is fast. Wow. I have never seen a bike hit 42 that quickly going down the hill. So yeah, super stable. I did not feel like I was going 42, but according to the display, I hit 42. All right, let's head back to the house. Let's talk about the things that I love about this Yoto bike and the things that I don't love about it. Now let's go over the things that I love about this bike and the things that I don't quite love about this bike. First up, the things that I love about this bike is the fact that this comes in so many different options of motor size and battery size. You can get a 500 watt motor or you can get a 750 watt motor, and also you can get single battery or dual battery. This is going to give you a lot of options, all depending on what type of riding you're going to do. And next, the thing that I love is the size of this rear rack back here. This is definitely one of the biggest rear bike racks that I've ever seen. And the fact that they ship it with the seat and the footrest, that's a huge bonus. And lastly, the thing that I love about this bike is the fact that it hit the speed that they claimed that it would actually hit, 28 miles an hour on pedal assist 5, and it did a really good job for its size and weight going up that huge hill. But as for the things that I don't love about this bike, this kickstand is a little massive. And if you don't have this kickstand adjusted quite right, the front wheel hovers above the ground just enough to allow it to spin like this. Now, nothing gets harmed whenever this happens. It's just kind of an odd thing. I wish there was some sort of a stop to prevent this from completely swinging around, but you can adjust the kickstand to where it'll drop the front wheel down just enough to where it'll prevent it from spinning like this. Now, the other thing that is kind of a love-hate relationship is this mullet setup. With the front tire being bigger than the rear tire, you're gonna wanna carry 2 tubes. Now, if you're going on a short trip where you're not too far from your house or wherever you're staying, then maybe a tube isn't necessary. You can carry just a patch kit. But if you're going on a longer adventure, especially if you're going way out in the woods to do some hunting, you're gonna wanna carry extra tubes. And that's just an extra tube that you wouldn't have to carry if you had the same size tire, both front and back. And the last thing that I don't really love about this bike is the overall size. This bike is giant. It's super long. It's gonna be really hard to find a bike rack that this will fit on. And also to go along with that, it's super heavy. So you're gonna wanna have some sort of bike rack that has a ramp that you can roll this bike up onto, or a ramp to get it up in the back of a bed of a truck. But having a bigger bike means that it's gonna be a little bit more stable. You can have more supplies on it. So that's something you're gonna wanna take into consideration whenever looking at the Yoto Lion. So there you go, that's the Yoto Lion, and this is a super interesting bike. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this bike. I think that this is ideal for somebody who is going out into the woods to do some hunting, or if you're wanting to tote another person around on the back, that rear rack has enough to hold 2 small kids or a small adult. But if you guys are interested in picking up your own Yoto bike, whether that's the Lion or one of their other bikes, use my links down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next one.